recent report by Destination Canada says the Canadian tourism sector generated a record-breaking revenue of $59 billion between May and August, driven by both strong domestic and international travelers. Well, for a look at the local tourism industry, Darlene Grant Fiander with the Tourism Industry Association of Nova Scotia joins us. So, Ms. Grant Fiander, what can you say about how this province did this summer, tourism-wise?
Well, the August numbers are out, and we're pacing very much like the rest of the country. Slightly down in August, but we anticipate we'll catch up with the August, September, October numbers. So, there's been a high level of optimism in the industry this year. So it's going to be a solid year for sure.
Any reason why
Last
August might have been a little bit off?
No, probably it wasn't August. It might have been earlier in the year, and we're just catching up, because they start tracking numbers from January. And so the numbers are late coming out. So, we're kind of behind in the research side of things, but we anticipate that August was incredibly strong that we heard from our members. So I think by year's end, it's going to be good. And in 2024, the revenue exceeded $3.5 billion in Nova Scotia. So it's been incredibly good over the last couple of years.
Okay, fair enough. And so on the spending front there, what did we see in terms of tourist spending this year? Spending more, spending less?
I think it depends on the mode that they came in. Usually travelers spend more. We saw an increase in car traffic coming in, an increase from the Quebec market and other parts of Canada. And the international traveler is a high yield customer for us, incredibly important, just like the United States customer is very important for us. So they spend more, they stay longer, depending again on the mode they're coming in. I know if they come in via the ferry, an average stay in the province is, around 10 days. So that's pretty significant. It disperses the economics in, various communities.
It's interesting because in the national numbers, we saw a bit of a dip on the U.S. travelers, but here in Nova Scotia, I gather those numbers are still fairly strong, unlike the national numbers. What do you attribute that to?
I think politics is politics, but tourism is is really about hospitality. We have close connections to our friends in the United States. And I think they show slightly down in August, but I think that will catch up. Our outreach to our own members indicated that the U.S. numbers were at least on par with 24 and actually increased on a number of cases. So, we have strong cultural ties with the United States. They're a very important market to us. And I think, of course, the exchange rate was very favorable to come to Canada, to come to Nova Scotia. So that's important. They've had some confidence in access. We've had some good flight increases, direct flights into Nova Scotia, and also, again, the consistency of having the ferries important. So lots of different things. It's never one thing with tourism, but certainly it's an incredibly important market for us. And so we hope that that continues to stabilize and grow in the years to come.
Interestingly, the national report talked about regions outside of the major cities in the country seeing an increase in demand, including here in Nova Scotia. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, you think about when you go to a place, and the towns and the small towns and the villages that we have are incredibly special. A lot of our cultural experiences are in those communities, the preservation of our history. I mean, Nova Scotia is incredibly special with the kind of towns and communities we have. So, and the other thing is, it's a travelable destination once you're here. So you may start off in Halifax, and very quickly you can be to a very different type of product. You're never, I think it's 6 kilometers, 5 kilometers from the coast. So, I mean, we have it all really, and we have a great opportunity to leverage tourism much even greater in the coming years.
Well, I want to talk to you about that just quickly. There's this new 5-year roadmap from Tourism Nova Scotia to grow the industry here. How might we expect, or what might we expect from that to change what's already a $3.5 billion tourism industry in this province?
Well, I think part of it is the 3.5 billion. We don't talk about it a lot in terms of its significance. We talk about resource investment and other sectors, but tourism, supersedes all of those. And with, we believe, an integrated approach to growth, we could actually do incredibly a lot more business in the province. And so that's policy alignment. If government's looking at policy that affects tourism, we need to be part of that conversation. Building the shoulder season, developing sustainability in some of those smaller communities, leveraging our cultural story. I mean, we are an old destination in many ways, and we have a great story to tell, and we often get kind of we don't often do a great job at telling that. investment readiness. How ready are we for investment? And you think of the towns and villages in Nova Scotia, without the infrastructure tourism brings, what would they look like? So there's so many opportunities, but we believe working with government, and this strategy was the first time that industry and government worked together in such a collaborative way to kind of agree that there are 6 pillars that we need to focus on, and access is one of them. We have to stop talking about one part of transportation, and we have to start looking at the way people get here, how they can move around, how we can, make sure they spend their money in communities throughout the province. So there are a number of facets to tourism. And I mentioned to you earlier, we talk a lot about how busy was the season. I mean, tourism is a year-round industry, and at 3.5 billion without a lot of attention, imagine what we could do for this province, especially with the natural assets and resources we have.
Yeah, all the things Nova Scotia has to offer. Darlene Grant Fiander,
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.